Welcome back, my friend. This is Mr. Alan in the world of toys. And today I have a very special guest. An awesome artist. I give you the one and the only Nate Baertsch. Welcome, Nate. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Thanks to be on my show because I know your works. You works with two of my favorite brands, Mythic Legions and Master of the Universe. So I'm very happy to have you in my show. Thanks to accept the invitation. And I hope that after tonight you come back in the future because every my guest will return. If you see something, because I have the light, is in the night, and some butterfly flying. Because
butterflies are better. Yeah.
Yes, the butterfly, I don't know, is the name in English for the butterfly that flying only in the nights. What is the name?
We call them moths.
Okay.
It's usually like a moth that is attracted to the light.
Yes, exactly. It's the type of butterfly. In Italian, the Italian name of this butterfly is falena. Falena is the name of night butterfly like this.
That's beautiful.
However, back to you. Tell me how start. So, what is the moments in your life that you discover your talent?
It was early on. I was a kid. I've told this story before in other places, but frankly, it is with Masters of the Universe, I want to say. Masters came out when I was six or 7 years old. So I was the perfect age for Masters of the Universe. I was exactly the generation that they were targeting. And when those mini comics came out with Alfredo Alcala's beautiful artwork in them, I just couldn't help but try to copy them and try to draw the same stuff. And then I realized, as I was watching cartoons and stuff, I kind of recognized it's like, wow, if you can draw something, you can draw anything, and anything could be literally anything. I mean, you could have characters that fly. You can have, you could have so much fun. Like all of the cool things that were running through my head and all the things that I loved about toys, I realized I could also do with drawings. So yeah, I just kept practicing drawing, and it was shortly after that I was shown some of my mother's drawings. So my mom was also an artist when she was younger. And I remember being floored. I remember telling her, it's like, Mom, these could be in like real books and stuff. These are so good. And then she's like, well, yeah, I've just been drawing forever and whatever. And she pointed to things on the wall that we had hanging on the wall. She's like, and I drew all those. And I was floored. So to see her example, I just kind of felt like, well, maybe if I try hard enough, I could maybe get there someday too. I'm still trying, but yeah.
Awesome, because when I was a kid, for example, I was a big fan of the Filmation cartoon, and me too. When I was a kid, I liked drawing. So I remember I watched some cartoon like She-Ra, He-Man, Bracer, or Filmation Ghostbusters. I like the Filmation in general. Yeah. I tried to drawing the character during I watched the show. So I understand your feelings that you start with your passion for Master of the Universe. And when you understand that your art, your talent will became your future as your job, your future, when you understand that?
That would have been, so it was definitely in college. Well, even high school. If I go way back,
So there is a church near my house.
I love it. So I actually lived in France for a couple of years when I was younger, and I loved hearing those church bells. But anyway, side note, I would say it was when I was in junior high. I was really big into drawing a lot of the comic strips that I would read. Whenever we'd get the newspapers, we'd get the Sunday comics. I would only ever look at the comics. I didn't care about all the other news stories and whatnot. I just went straight to the comic section. And then later, as a teenager, going more into the movies as well. So, and it was nice because you had the comics and then you'd flip the page and the movies were right there as well. This is newspaper. This is old times. It's crazy old stuff. But yeah, I just remember thinking at that time, I was like, wow, people actually make a living doing this. It's like, then I could do that. And so I always drew. Always. I was a terrible student in school because I would always just draw. Instead of doing math or English or history or whatever, I was just in the back trying to hide the fact that I was drawing. And then it was after my stay, well, no, in college. College was my first art job. I did terrible with school. So my first year I did some generals, and my grades were just going downhill fast. And so the second year I was like, forget it. I've got to bring up my GPA. So I only enrolled in art classes, and that was it. And I became really good friends with the art professors there, and they were always like throwing me jobs here and there. So at one point I became the cartoonist for the school newspaper. And then I was, my one art instructor that I love dearly, Max Spinell, he was an architectural renderer. So he would do beautiful watercolors of different buildings and such. And he got me a few jobs there. And then I went and lived in France for 2 years. I served a mission for my church, and then came back from that 2 years later and jumped right into the advertising business. I worked at an ad agency and did a lot of comps and storyboards for different ad pitches and stuff like that. And it was in that time that I started picking up freelance. And when I was picking up freelance, I realized quickly I was taking any job I could take. It was brochures for like toilets or like internet wiring diagrams for buildings and things like that. It was like really uninspiring stuff for an illustrator, but I was just taking whatever job I could. And then at some point it just kind of switched, and I was like, forget it. I'm just going to go after freelance work that I like. So I went after some comic stuff, or actually some comic stuff came to me thanks to He-Man.org and their owner, Val Staples, who let me do some of the He-Man. This was the first time I got to work on official He-Man jobs, was with Val Staples, giving me an opportunity to color some covers, some exclusive covers. And then at one point he let me draw and color my own like side stuff. I never worked on the interiors so much. I didn't really have the time for it, because when I was doing freelance work, it was only in evenings because I had my day jobs. Excuse me. I got a little bubble stuck there. Anyway, I just didn't have enough time to devote to interiors of the comics. But Val was always really nice and loved getting fans involved. He really, really loved that. And he still does to this day. He really loves to get fans of the properties involved in whatever project he does. And it was that stuff that caught the attention of the Four Horsemen. This is back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And that's when they started their own Fanex line. I've told this story a few times already, so if I'm boring anybody, I apologize. But that's where it all started, essentially, was doing fan art in forums, being noticed there, and then being asked to work on different jobs. And it's ever since then, it's just been one job after another, which has been fantastic. It's been wonderful.
Yes, it's wonderful when you can make a job with your heart. I think when an artist can work with this talent, with this art, become the happiest man in the world, in my opinion.
Most definitely. It's tricky because you do have to balance. You have to balance life a little bit, and sometimes even the funnest jobs, it's like, oh my gosh, this is still work that I would rather just go sit on the couch and play some video games or something, or watch a movie, or go outside. and instead, oh darn it, I have to work on this Mythic Legions packaging art. Gosh dang it, it's like And then you have to stop and realize, what the heck am I complaining about? This is the most amazing thing I get to do. And it really is. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, it can be work as well.
And tell me more about your start your partnership with Four Horsemen. Tell me more about this story with you and the Four Horsemen.
So that goes way back to 2000. Well, when I first met him was at 2004 at San Diego Comic-Con. That's when I met them in person. I don't know if they remember that, but I certainly remember that. It was the first time I got to meet them in person. And then it was 2007 when they invited me to do the packaging artwork for Ramathor from the Seventh Kingdom. And then during that time, for the most part, I would just do an occasional painting for them here and there. And I think it was another convention when I was hanging out with them down at San Diego Comic-Con again. I remember expressing to Eric Treadaway that I was really interested in trying to do some more action figure type art, or like design art for action figures and stuff like that. And just by mentioning it, it wasn't short after that they were just throwing me jobs here and there to just try that stuff out. So I remember some of those early action figure jobs are things I don't think anybody's ever seen, but it was back when the Horsemen were doing DC stuff for Mattel, and they were pitching a few different lines to Mattel. And so and it was a really great exercise for me, because it was, there's the standard action figure look that the Horsemen kind of do, and these were very different. These were very stylized. And I remember CB in particular saying, just, you've got to imagine that they're like silly putty. So just stretch and squash and just let's push some extremes and get these action figures looking unique and different from everything else that's out there on the shelves. And so I did some of that stuff. None of that stuff ever came to fruition, actually, now that I think about it. Maybe it did in some way, shape, or form, but it was shortly after that Masters of the Universe Classics had started, and I remember putting together a pitch with Emiliano Santalucia and George Jojovic. We were actually pitching to do packaging artwork for the Masters of the Universe Classics line. It was when the only thing that had been revealed was that first He-Man figure in the booth, and they were beginning production or beginning sculpture work on Merman and a couple others. Anyway, must have been Stratos, Merman, that kind of stuff, somewhere right there at the beginning of the line. And yeah, it's just, job after job, it's just been fun to try packaging artwork, to try action figure design, to work on accessories. And now anymore, it's just, I get an email or a call or a text even from them. They're like, hey, can you just whip something up here for this? And I try to as fast as I can. Sometimes it's not as fast as it should be, but it gets done at some point. So,
awesome.
Yeah. And it's just been one after another. So it's been a lot of fun. So my relationship with them has just grown, first out of a respect and a friendship for each other's artwork. Like most of my collection, in many ways, I collect it because the sculpture is so good on the figures, or the paint applications on the figures, or that kind of a thing. And more often than not, it's their work that just, in my mind, stands out amongst. There are many other great sculptors out there that work for great companies and whatnot, but I've just always been a fan of their work. And it's been kind of fun, because I remember hanging out with Eric at one point, and he's just like, it's all mutual, and it's just humbling and wonderful to hear from them how much they appreciate the work that I try to give them.
Yes, I believe that the style of Four Horsemen is unbelievable. Especially, I consider the Mythic Legions line the pinnacle of their career, because finally they have the possibility to create their own stuff, and awesome line. Also because I start recently to collect this figure for my stop motion and some stuff that they do in this in my show, in my videos. And I remember the first time that I had my first figure. I was excited for the details. They are so realistic, and these things become unbelievable to me also because when you got an action figure for the Mythic Legions, you understand that the people behind this project is someone that is not just a company that want to make money and stop. No, it's people that are also artists, but also collector too. For example, the collector packaging friendly or the extraction to use the air dryer. No one put this instruction in an action figure.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I broken some of my figure because in the beginning when I start to do this channel, I didn't understand that. But they put this instruction is a nice touch to respect also the figure that they made and also the people that collect them. And so also the articulation that respect the shape of the figure, because sometimes we have too much articulation in some character, in some line like double joint elbow, double joint knee, and you lost a little bit the shape of the figure, the reality of the figure. And this I understand when you got this a Mythic Legion figure, you understand the philosophy of the Foroso, in my opinion.
Yes, absolutely. It's a line for them that's. I mean, they've had numerous lines before that. I wouldn't say numerous, but they've had a few lines before, and you can tell that they had to go through. It's amazing because as much as they know about the toy industry and toy making, it was when they started branching out and started with Seventh Kingdom. They had some good leads and some good factory connections and things like that, but even still, some of those figures it took a little bit to get the plastic just right or to get the joint movements just right and that kind of a thing. I remember holding the Scarabus figures for the first time and just being amazed at the quality and the level of, there's something about the plastic. I don't know what it is. It's like the perfect blend of PVC plastic for some reason, as silly as that is, but it really, it holds up. It feels right in your hand, or it feels, when you realize you can't put a figure down because you keep moving it, you keep posing it, and it keeps holding its poses beautifully and that kind of a thing. And it was finally I feel like with as good as Scarabus was, it was amazing to hold a Mythic Legions figure because it was, like you said, it's phenomenal how wonderful these figures are. And they still keep getting better. Like if you compare a first wave Mythic Legion figure with the more recent waves, they're continuing to improve, which is it's just awesome.
Yes, and also I believe this is typical of a real artist because, for example, if I read my first novel, I understand that it's different the level of my last novel because it is an artist that work with his art, with his talent, growing with this work. Because the only way to become a writer, for example, is writing. The school of writing mean nothing. You need to play with the words. The same things to become a designer, to create action figure. The only way is to continue to make something, and this way give you more experience and give you more opportunity for your talent to become bigger. Because the talent is like a creator inside yourself if you are an artist, and these creatures demand you to give you more and more to become bigger in your life and your talent, in your heart. So it's true. What do you mean about that? And also, for example, I pre-ordered the Lithia Wave, and just only the preview, I saw some stuff unbelievable. This vampire, these details, new pieces, the libraries was not the same in the past. Also, on the Legion Builder Deluxe wave, we saw more and more detailed. And another way to understand the level of a figure is show a figure with someone that know nothing about this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I do that every time that I get my new figure in general. But the biggest reaction that I had when I show my figure to my brother, to my girlfriend, or my mother, with the Mythic Legions, when they saw these figures. They are not collector. They know nothing about action figures, but they were surprised because of the details. The details for the size, because imagine a stone troll is a huge figure, but also the details, including my mother watched that. Is unbelievable, the finger, the nails, the details of the skin, and it's a lot of fun, but also it is a good test to understand the value of the figure. If someone that know nothing, still a surprise for that. Because sometimes if someone watch an action figure, maybe he says it's just a toy, but it's not the same things for the Mythic Legions, because it's another level, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep, 100%. I recently had a similar opportunity to share. Actually, the Aerotheer wave, when it came out, I was able to acquire some horse figures for my mom, because she actually had input on the design of the horse a little bit. She grew up with horses. She was a little girl in the early 60s playing with Breyer horses, and she has quite the collection of Breyer horses. So not only did I get probably my artistic talents from her, but I also got my appreciation of toys and a little bit of a collecting bug from her. So yeah, I was happy to be able to give her that toy, because she helped Eric and I out while Eric was sculpting the horse, Balius in particular. I helped him out a little bit with the horse anatomy, just with some really quick drawings. Like I do, I'll do a few sketches here and there, as sometimes draw overs on top of the sculpt. Like I'll just bring it into Photoshop and draw on top of it. But I remember Eric in particular had some questions surrounding the horse tack. So like the bridle, the saddle, the blanket and stuff like that. And I actually reached out to my mom and it was like, Mom, medieval saddle, what would that be like? You know, kind of a thing. Because yeah, we can search on Google and that kind of a thing. And she's like, oh, you need to look up this particular saddle. And it was very common, and it's one of the earliest known saddles, kind of a thing. So much of what happened on the horse, especially with the saddle and such, that kind of came about and came together by and large from me reaching out to my mom. And one of the cool things is too that I enjoyed personally when I finally got the horse and I was able to put a figure on it. I've also ridden horses much of my life, so you know, you can set that figure up and in the correct way that is required to realistically ride a horse. So I mean, it's actually a lot of fun. It's way cool. And so to be able to share that with her and to get her reaction and to see, you know, her light up, and she's like, man, these guys need to sell these horses, not just to action figure guys like you, but like horse people would hugely be interested in these figures because they're so well done and they're so authentic in many ways. Even though it's a fantasy horse in a fantasy timeline, and Balius is a big war horse. He's a big muscular horse, so he's not quite the typical horse. But regardless, there's a lot of authenticity that comes with what they put into, and it speaks well to the research that Eric in particular, as he sculpts this stuff, he really cares about and wants it to come across well.
Awesome. Also because an artist like Eric, for example, get inspiration for many opinion and also for the real life also, because an artist, the work of an artist also get inspiration for many things and many suggestions also that you can get also. And speaking of creating something, I know that you are behind of the Icon Heroes Castle Grayskull Deluxe statue. Tell me something about that.
That was a fun job. Yeah, that was back in 2011 or 2012 was when we began that. And that was a time when Masters of the Universe Classics was running huge. It was very big, and there were no rumblings yet of the actual playset being made. Having said that, Icon Heroes comes along, and they acquired a license they couldn't do full-on licensed statues, but they could do like environment type things, and they could do, I think they got like an actual office supply license. So technically some of the statues that they did are considered, I don't know, paperweights or things of that nature, which is funny. Like the power swords that they would sell were actual letter openers. Again, office supplies, but it was genius. It was a fun time. So they were playing with that. When Icon Heroes approached Mattel about making Castle Grayskull as an environmental statue, they said, you need to work with Four Horsemen Studios. Because if we ever do a playset, we want them to create something that would be consistent with whatever they may do later on in the line for Masters of the Universe Classics. And then the other fun part of this was we got to create the full environment of Grayskull. Normally with Castle Grayskull, you only got the two sides, the front and the one side. So we got to create the back, the top, the roof, the other side, that kind of a thing. And I remember Eric Treadaway and I, this was one of the trips I had made out to New Jersey to hang out with them at the studio. I think it was for Toypocalypse and New York Toy Fair at the time. This was in the winter. And I remember Eric and I sitting down and just talking about our thoughts about Castle Grayskull. You know, because the castle, even at that point in time, had numerous looks. The Filmation had a specific look of the castle. The mini comics had a specific look, which we've later learned is the artists that were doing the mini comics were just pulling from the original, or the early concepts and the original sculpt of Grayskull. And then the toy itself was very boxy and a little different, but still had a lot of charm to it. So yeah, I just remember Eric and I chatting about that. And then Eric, because Mattel wanted the Horsemen to be involved, Eric reached out to me and just said, why don't you do at least the control art, and we'll figure out how it gets sculpted later with Icon Heroes. I don't think they knew at the time if they would sculpt it or if someone in China would sculpt it. It ended up being some people that worked at a factory in China ended up sculpting that original piece. But I got to design and do all the control art, and that was just, it was a dream job. You know, I've had many wonderful dream-like jobs working with Masters of the Universe and with Mythic Legions and upcoming Cosmic Legions. But yeah, to be able to kind of fully flesh out that castle has been really satisfying and a lot of fun. I remember looking a lot at Mark Taylor's early concept sketches for the castle and trying to kind of cobble together and pull elements of his work, because I wanted it. Eric and I were both, I think, primarily fans of that first castle with the ledge, with the pawn on top and all that stuff. And you see that in not only in the Icon Heroes castle, but also in the Classics castle. So yeah, we just wanted to make sure it fit. And then it's been exceptionally satisfying for me to occasionally see the castle drawn with all four sides in the newer comics, and to see some of those elements still hanging on, which is pretty cool. It's like, hey, I got to do some of that. You're drawing it that way because I drew it that way at once upon a time. And it's been fun. It's been super satisfying. And then on top of that, they let me do the box art for that environment, which was so fun. So we definitely wanted to show off that new side in that box art. So that's probably that'll probably go down as being the piece of artwork that I'm most known for as far as creating a Castle Grayskull, like an iconic Castle Grayskull artwork. That's probably up there and some of the best stuff. So
an awesome piece of art.
It's fun. It was a lot of fun.
And speaking of art box, you was involved also in the Motu Origin Castle of Grayskull art box.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me something about that.
So that came about in a different sort of way. So Masters of the Universe Origins, I got to step my foot into that realm early on with the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive in 2019 with the Adam and He-Man 2-pack, that first offering of Mattel's Origins line. And I think it was just the work I had done there. It introduced me to Roy Juarez, who works at Mattel. And of course, our good friend Axel Jimenez has been working on that line since day one also. And I worked with Axel and Val Staples also on that first San Diego Comic-Con exclusive box. But then to fast forward to helping out with the box art on the Origins Castle, that one was just one of those. I'm just plugging along, and I get an email from Roy saying, "Hey, we need your help on a project I think you'd be very interested in," kind of a thing. And once he told me what it was, I was like, "Yeah, I can't say no to that job. There's no way." It took a long while to do. We handled it also a little bit differently. If you look at the artwork on that box art, I had already done some work with Axel on that line, obviously with the San Diego job, but also on the Power Lords pack that came out the next year for PowerCon. And all of that stuff, I'm actually just doing color work underneath Axel's work. Whereas this castle was a little unique in the sense that Axel provided pencils and layout. He planned out all of the drawing for the piece, and Roy really wanted it to look more like, kind of like that poster that I have behind me from William George, where we wanted it to feel a little more like oil painting kind of a thing. So I did all my digital paint work over top of Axel's pencils. So that's where it's a little different, but it also has more of that kind of just, it feels a little bit retro. I mean, the colors are very bright and vibrant and still coming from a digital age for sure. But yeah, the approach that we took to it was a little more traditional, which was a lot of fun.
What is the time to create an art box like that?
It's hard to say, because again, I still have my day job, and then I do this stuff in the evenings, and I'm still a dad, and I'm still a husband, and I have other responsibilities. So it's like I just try to steal time as much as I can every evening here and there. If it's not every evening, it's most evenings, I would say, and then usually chunks of time on Saturday. But that castle, gosh, I was working on that thing for a long time. But it's also it's a very big, complex painting, because you have the big environment, you have the fun sky with all the planets behind it. That all takes time, and then I think there was like maybe 20 characters on that box. So to try to plow through that, I'm still not answering your question, because I honestly don't know. I want to say it was a good month. It was at least a good month, if not a month and a half, of me just plugging away on it in the evenings here and there.
Okay, you work also in another stuff in Moto Origins.
Have I worked on other things in Masters Origins?
Yes.
Yes, I have. I'm trying to think what I can talk about and what I cannot talk about. Well, yeah, the castle. Roy has mostly used me to work with Axel on like exclusive items. Castle Grayskull was a special one where it came into the store. I also did one of the mini comics, actually, the third mini comics that came with the figures. I got to do. I worked with Ruben on that one, and he let me draw the third issue there. So not a lot of people know about that one, because there are no credits in those comics. They just come with the figures, and it's great. But yeah, I got to do that one, and then the PowerCon exclusives that are coming out this year for 2021. I had my hand. I did a complete package on one of them. I won't say what items yet, because the packaging art hasn't been revealed yet for those. There's a big set that is very similar to the Lords of Power, and I'll just say that the packaging duties there were very similar to what Axel and I did on the Lords of Power. Only it's even bigger and better. And honestly, I'm so excited for fans to see that one. I think it's been teased before from the people at Mattel that, like, just wait till you see the packaging. It's the Horde pack. That thing is nuts, and I'm so excited for people to see that one. So I got to work on that one with Axel. And then, yeah, there are some other things in the works currently right now that definitely have Masters of the Universe and me, where I'm just working at it. I mean, it's actually, if you could see my computer monitor right now, which you cannot, but if you could, you would see that's what I was working on just prior to this.
Please turn the camera.
I know. If I did, I would be in serious trouble. And I would,
you will be in trouble, maybe also me, because there are copyright rules of that.
Yeah, possibly. Well, and I like working with these people, and so I'll respect that. But yeah.
Awesome. And now back to Mythic Legions. Tell me how start, because I understand you are also a fan of this line. How start your passion for Mythic Legions? And if you remember also the first figure you got of this line. My first one was Kim Brondon, by the way.
Awesome. Well, I'm a little bit of an odd case in that one because, again, I have a working relationship and friendship with the Horsemen. And I was right there at the inception of the line, in the sense of so my first connection with Mythic Legions was just chatting with Eric. I want to say this was 2013, maybe 2014. No, I think it was 13. It was that time that Castle Grayskull was shown off at Toy Fair, whenever that was. Anyway, Eric had showed me his sketchbook, and in his sketchbook, he's like, "This is something that we're kind of developing with the guys, and I'd like to get your, opinion on it," kind of a thing. And really, it's just we're two artists just showing off the stuff that we're working on together, kind of a thing. Only in this case, it's him showing off what's going on in his mind, and just showing it to me. And I was floored. It was some of his preliminary sketches of like the dwarf figures, and some of the knight figures. And then it was the next year, the next Toy Fair, when they did when they showed off Mythic Legions for the first time. I was actually able to do a custom knight. They sent me a resin cast of one of those knights to just paint up and customize on my own. And mine was the most boring one, I'll just have you know. Mine was just, I was just floored, again, as a fan, I was just floored at looking at this resin cast from Four Horsemen Studios of this beautiful knight figure. And again, it was a 2-up size to what would have been a 3 3/4 figure. So it's just a little bit larger, I want to say, than what the actual figures have ended up being. So the first Mythic Legion figure I had in my hand was a resin prototype from Horsemen Studios. Fast forward to them doing the Kickstarter. I was working on, I'm trying to remember now. I remember they were working on, with the Kickstarter, a company with Jesse Snyder, who did the comic book. And I was doing some pieces for the interior of that. It actually ended up never going into that book. It wasn't the book, it was the cards. I'm remembering now. It was actually the trading cards. At some point, I was supposed to do those, and I was running way behind, unfortunately. But what happened was the Horsemen had some test shots, and they sent them out to me to help me kind of get some of the proportions and some of the designs of the figures right, so that I could kind of take them and pose them and use them as references and whatnot. So those were actually the first, I would say, figures that I actually held. But even then, they were still just test shots. And I ended up sending those back to the Horsemen afterwards, after that job was done. And so then really the first actual figures with all the packaging and production put into it was just like everybody else when they were getting their shipments from the Horsemen themselves from that first Kickstarter. So that was amazing. And I just remember immediately taking out as many of them as I can. I remember taking them out into the backyard and doing little photo shoots with them, kind of a thing, just because I was so excited to have them in hand. I remember distinctly the Bog Goblin blowing my mind, because I had the Bog Goblin.
It's one of my favorite, the Bog Goblin, one of my favorite goblin. It's so cool, this character. Because if you watch it, the Bog Goblin looks like goofy, maybe ridiculous, but at the same time is a bad guy, a mean little guy.
Yeah.
He's a little bastard, the Bog Goblin.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely he is. He's he's a creepy dude. I had him fighting the oh no, I'm gonna forget his name. Orin, I want to say. It's the green dwarf, the green metallic dwarf. He often hangs out with Artemis.
Yes, I don't remember it because name is not easy to remember because I haven't this dwarf. I understand what is this guy, the green dwarf. I remember the green armor, yes, but I don't remember the name in this time.
Orin Steelhide, maybe.
Maybe yes.
Yep. I don't feel terribly bad though for getting some of the names because, yeah. I remember being at the Horseman Studios and talking with the different guys, and they're just like, I don't know all their names, especially there at the beginning. There were so many that had come out. I mean, over time, and as we hear and we learn more about the characters, and I think especially as the story develops, and especially as this game, Mythic Legion Tactics, develops, characters are starting to come up as being more main players, which is cementing some of these names into our minds a little more easily, which is nice.
Yes, because I remember very well the name of the character that I have, but in general, I don't remember. Maybe this someone that I have in my collection because I have a project for that with stop motion, the story. I create my faction, and so I tell the story many times also for other guys involved in the Mythic Legion. I talk about that with Corboy. Mm-hmm. But also with Walter of the Cabal, with Jeremy Girard, with other guys that love Mythic Legions. Yes. I'll start my project because I want to tell you also the story with you. Because start like that. I did the 2 interviews with Corbo in this channel. The first one was on last March, the first one. At that time, I know what is Mythic Legions, but I wasn't a collector of that. And I started with this interview, and during the interview, CB told me about the peculiarity of these figures, the proportion between the characters. One of the things I like so much, because I like when I don't like in a line with every guys with the same size, same height. I don't like that. Yep. And when he told me that we have a big guy, a little guy, he showed me his personal stone troll that he has, on his during the stream. Mm-hmm. After that, 2 nights later, I had a dream, and that dream, the dream that I made, in the dream I had many Mythic Legions figures, and when I wake up, I thought, why? I made this dream with Mythic Legions. I have a Mythic Legion. I never collect that. So I go to the website, the the Forceman website. Yeah. And I started watching the character because there is the checklist to every character, the story. Mm-hmm. And so, wow, this is mine. This is for me because I like Hero Quest. I like Lord of the Rings. I like this type of atmosphere, fantasy war. And I decided to create some projects, a stop motion project, and also a secret project that will be revealed in the future on this channel. And I picked some character to my project. So now I know very well the character that I pick. And maybe some character is impossible to have now. Like I remember Almir Gordon Tooth, a dwarf it is impossible to have today. Or Ursok the Orc, another different character to have. Or Thorn Iron Jaw. The character is difficult to have. I remember so well because in the beginning was one of the characters that I picked, but it's impossible to find with a good price. The aftermarket on eBay is a huge price for small figure. It's impossible. Right. So now I know very well. But by the way, this is the first time that a collection starts after a dream, after a conversation with Corboy.
Wow,
like that.
That's awesome. That is so cool. It's amazing. Follow your dreams. There you go.
Yes, I follow him because many novels that I wrote was inspired by some dream that I had. Sometimes I made some dream with a perfect story, with a perfect development of the story. In the beginning of the end, when I wake up, it's time to make some notes because this is the story. It's just to put the story. I have a question for in general for the process for the creation, for your creation. For example, when I work on my novel, I schedule nothing. I made a playlist, like a soundtrack for a novel. I have maybe the subject for that. I put the headphones, I start on writing and like to follow in the river to creativity. What is your process, your style to work? and you listen music when you work? What is your creation moment? Always.
You bet. You bet. Well, that's a good question, and I don't get asked that one often. Or if I do, I probably don't answer it well. So let's see if I can answer this one now this time. Really, because I'm an illustrator, illustrators and artists are close, but an illustrator just has to be an artist all the time, whereas an artist can take that time to find that creative genius, right? And then follow that. And I love it when that happens. It doesn't always happen, but I love it when it does. And with Mythic Legions, well, as an illustrator, I try to work with either the client that I'm working for or an art director or somebody, and do my best to understand what the vision of the piece is and what they're kind of seeing in their head. And I'm trying to making sure what I have in my head matches what's in their head. And then I like to kind of go off and do a little bit of research. I do like to have what I call that thinking time, where it's similar, like you said, you don't schedule anything. You're just you just need to be left alone, and you just need to let it churn into your brain a little bit. And so I like to try to do that. I remember with Mythic Legions packaging in particular. Actually, I can share the story a little bit of that first card art. The very, it's the front of the card art that's used on every figure still to this day. That piece in particular, which, by the way, if you got the Aether Wave or if you got the Shadow Equidron figure, the artwork that's on the back of that looks like it's almost that artwork, but it's actually one of the earlier work in progress pieces of that painting. The dragon is just barely starting to be fleshed out. For example, the skulls and the faces are just kind of, they're a little bit mushy and a little bit blurry, because that is actually, we decided to use my early work in progress piece for the back of the Shadow Equidron piece, which was kind of fun. That's total side note tangent, but really what happened, so I take that piece, I remember having conversations with Eric. He pointed me to Ken Kelly's artwork. If you're familiar with him, he did a lot of fantasy stuff. He did one of the first paintings that was used to market the 2000X He-Man stuff. He was also known for the Inhumanoids artwork on the figures for the Inhumanoids, amongst other toy lines back then. He just had a very bright, vibrant color palette. And I remember Eric and I talking about the mood had to feel very Dungeons and Dragons-y and very, very atmospheric. Kind of like where you start with a black canvas instead of a white canvas, and then you put colors into it after that. So that's kind of how I approached that first piece. And it was interesting because Eric and I didn't really, we just talked about those themes. He didn't necessarily say, I want this or that in it. He just kind of let me go and let me do my thing. And I was like, obviously I've been influenced, and obviously Mythic Legions is slightly influenced also by Masters of the Universe. How could it not be? A little bit. And I just remember the exploding rocks on the Masters of the Universe piece. And so I thought, for the Mythic Legions, for this front card art, I'll have just an actual explosion of just nice, bright, fiery yellow where the figure would be. Just to kind of show off the figure, or let the figure kind of glow, so to speak. And so there were rocks and stuff. And as I was painting, and it was at that point, that's when the creative just kind of took over on that. Because in my mind, when I first started out, it was really just going to be kind of a cool, fiery explosion with rocks. That was kind of it, with some bright colors around it, maybe some lightning. And so you see those elements still there. But as I kept going on it, I was like, in my mind, I said, this needs to be more. And as I was doing the smoke off of the fire, I was realizing that smoke actually started to, I don't know if it was a subconscious thing or what, but it started to look like a dragon head. And I just started to play with it. I was just like, yeah, why not? We're just seeing like this elemental dragon kind of coming into the scene, but it's emerging out of that black. And once I did that, I showed it to the guys. And they were just like, yeah, run with it. We don't care. And I'm like, well, it's not based on any particular dragon. They've never, at least that I've seen, have not sculpted a dragon yet. There may be one now. I don't know. But if there is one, I haven't seen it. I'm not teasing or revealing anything there. But at the time, certainly at the beginning of the line, there was no dragon sculpted. And so I was like, I mean, Eric, are you good with me to just kind of draw this dragon face? I mean, he's like, yeah, because it's just art. Just do your thing. Which, by the way, that's always been an amazing thing working with the Horsemen. A lot of times they'll be particular about certain things. Obviously, like if you're doing packaging artwork for a figure, that packaging artwork better look like the figure, for example. But in this case, we were just kind of establishing a brand and a look, and we were just kind of playing in the sandbox together, so to speak. So they really did just let me have my way. And I thought once that dragon piece was starting to come together, then all the other demons and monsters and things kind of started to populate that piece. And it just kind of became what it was. And I would say that that piece in particular for the packaging art has been one of those moments where it was just like, it really just kind of poured out of us, kind of a thing. It poured out of me in particular. As I was painting it, it was just like, it just kind of happened. I just kind of let it go and let it happen on the canvas, so to speak. The other packaging, I still kind of approach it that way. I'm still mindful of the general branding that we've established. But really, my mind now goes more to the environments that these characters are in. And if you'll notice the Arethyr wave, it's, well, let me back up. If you look at like the troll box art or the ogre box art, you'll see that I was very keen on putting in as many characters as I could and just filling that space with so many of the characters, which is fun to do and appropriate to do, of course, for packaging for action figures. But one thing that I've been finding, particularly with the Arethyr wave, and I think you'll see this moving forward with like the Illythia wave and the waves that follow after that, I'm kind of more interested in showcasing a little bit of the environment so that that packaging can be used for multiple characters, kind of a thing. Cosmic Legions, that may be a different story, but we'll have to tell that story another day when we get to Cosmic Legion's packaging.
Yes, when the Cosmic Legion will come out, you can come back to talk to us about that.
I'd be happy to. I would be very happy to. So yeah, but the creative process there, it becomes pretty straightforward. I have to have die lines, for example. I have to know what the box is. I have to kind of know how big my canvas is going to be that I need to populate, kind of a thing. A lot of times once I have those die lines, I'll do thumbnail drawings and sketches. I'll throw out a few different ideas. And it depends on how much time I have. If I have a lot of time, I like to plan a lot. If I don't have a lot of time, it kind of just comes out of me. And we hope it works. And sometimes it works well. Sometimes it works okay. It gets the job done. I think for the most part, people seem to be pretty happy. So at least I hope they are, because I never deliver anything that I'm not proud of. Anything, especially for the Horsemen and especially for Mythic Legions and Masters of the Universe, I know that my name is going on it. So I want it to be some of the best stuff that I've done to that day.
Also because when I got the first figure, Kim Brondon, another thing that was very interesting to me is that also in the packaging, you can find the perfect atmosphere related with the figures. It looks like to be a part in the same story. Also, the packaging, another thing was very important to me. When I saw the figure, Kim Brondon, I am a writer, so I saw this guy. I said, "This guy tell me a story. Tell to me a story to understand that to display to develop in some stop motion." And the artwork that you did also is another big push for the creativity, because it's not casual. If you watch the community of Mythic Legions fan, we find many artists also customizer, because it's a big push for your creativity. Maybe should be possible in the future that I will make a novel, fantasy novel. I never made a fantasy novel, some horror, many different type of novel, but not fantasy. However, also your artwork is the same philosophy, and to tell you the story, but also tell you the story that you want. You can create everything Also, for example, the stuff that you can pop out, mesh up the character with the Mythic Legions is another big push for the creativity. You understand that this line is different, and the package in your artwork is another big step of that, because a part of this cosmos of the Mythic Legions, because it's a big opportunity to find your creativity. I believe I made an interview with someone that like Mythic Legions. Maybe they aren't an artist, but when they talks about Mythic Legions, they start to create some story. No, and this things is interesting because it's the result of something that is full of creativity. This line, including art, including action figure.
Most definitely.
And speaking of that, I want to talk about something that you created. You have also a slide for that. Because I need to share that. Okay. This guy.
Yep.
Because I tell you a story for that also. Because when this wave comes out, I believe it was May 1st. In the past, I had scheduled my figure that I need for my project. And when I saw this guy, this accessory pack that with the Elf Giant you can create, I changed my project because of this big guy. Because you're supposed to also see the other, because he can move a little bit. Because I like this, because it's the first time in the Mythic Legions that we have a barbarian with a long beard, with this awesome stuff, with these big antlers. Because yes, we have Bolto the Tower, and it's awesome. I got Bolto the Tower for my project. But this guy is better, in my opinion. Also, the Bolto Tower is awesome, but this guy is better because it was like when you fall in love with someone, the same thing is to me to this character. In my opinion, this character needs a name, he needs a bio, because he's so cool. I like this giant barbarian with long beard, these big pauldrons, this shield, this hammer is so unique. And because of that, I decided to pull out some character that I chose before, I believe 3 female knights, and decided to get this guy, the dwarf Legion Builder, because I like also the dwarfs, and the barbarian Legion Builder. So tell me your inspiration to create this character. What is your inspiration?
My inspiration is, if you know me, and you've watched my Instagram over the last couple of years, you see in the fall, around November, I like to do a lot of Viking-inspired artwork. Someday when I grow up and I try to make toys of my own, I would absolutely love to make a line of Viking toys. They're very barbaric. They kind of tie in, but I have a great deep love for that Norse mythology as well. And so you see a lot of the elements there in this. So that job came about, it was early 2000, before COVID had hit really anywhere. People were receiving their ogres. And I remember Eric reaching out to me and saying, both are, and the giant ogre.
Kurzog is the giant ogre.
Thank you. He's sitting right over there. I'm looking at him. I'm like, the big ogre guy. He's so yeah, those were landing. People were getting those, and the ogres in general were doing really, really well. There was also the wave with the Cyclops.
Archimedes, yeah, also this
Archimedes is awesome. And then obviously you see that Shadow or Equidon and Shadow Equidron uses the ogre body. Anyway, long story short, at the time, this was early 2000, Eric reached out to me and said, you know what, we would love to try to do some accessory packs for that size of a figure. Just to push the sculpt a little further, to push the options a little more. And it was fun, and he really just kind of let me go and kind of sketch up whatever I wanted to sketch up. And because they're giant, my mind immediately just kind of went to some of the more Viking inspired things. So like that goat hammer, for example, is very much a nod to Thor, you know, and his goats. The shield kind of came out of the blue. I'll just be a little bit coy with this one, but if you look at that shield, it's very much inspired by a certain Dungeons and Dragons character that's very popular and had a specific shield the way it looked. But in this case, we made it kind of oversized. I have yet to see what that shield will look like with a normal sized Mythic Legion figure. It may be too big, but it might be kind of fun. Anyway, and then the head, I just thought it would be fun to pull from, well, the House of the Noble Bear is probably my favorite faction in general. And so we had the Barbarian Legion builders. And that's probably one of my top favorite characters or figures. And so I just wanted to kind of match, like, what would a half giant size helmet and face look like for that? And then when I thought of the horn options for him, it was simply, it's like, well, we have so many, there can be only so many longhorns, right? That, you know, or cow horns or whatever for Viking helmets. So I was like, let's do something a little different. Let's make them moose horns kind of thing. So that's where that came from. And then it was fun. Like I said, I just doodled up a few sheets for different options. I will say that there's a lot more on my sheets that I have not shown, and nor will I show yet, because you never know. If this does well, I'm hopeful that some more of those ideas will become 3D and be offered up in another pack, possibly in the future. But that's up to the guys to do if they want to do that.
Awesome. Also because it's not like, it's not only for the size, but in general, it's not like a typical accessories pack with weapons and some stuff like that. It's like it's a creating character pack, because this ad is so unique. Is the reason why I saw that the results with the half giant body, because I made a pre-order for that for us on my website, and also that because I thought I need this guy in my project, because it's me too. I like the barbarian. I like the guys with the long beard. I like the dwarf also for that.
Yep.
And this giants was unbelievable. Was my favorite of that reveals. And when I talked last time, the second interview with CB, he told me that you are behind the scene of that also. And so I need to make an interview with Nate also to talk about this figure, because I think it needs a name. It needs a name. It needs a story, because it's maybe more unique than Bolter is unique. I like Bolter. I have Bolter in my project, but this guy is more than Bolter, because it's unique. It needs a story. It needs a story. And so it's not, to me, it's not like an accessory pack. I decided to put this guy along with Bolter, because in my story they had similar rules but different. So because on this channel, I like I told you, I started a few weeks ago a series of stop motion, and I created the story for that also with the huge diorama. Do you want to see one of my episodes right now?
I would love to see that. Yeah.
Okay. And now I find it, because I have is this one. Okay, I hope you can listen also the audio. Yes, okay. There is, in the beginning, there is an intro, and the intro is not a stop motion. It's just the same intro that I use for every video that I did for Mythic Legion. So also for the review, for the unboxing, I create this intro that you can see. After the intro, start the episode, and this is the episode number 4 for my stop motion Mythic Legion series.
That's awesome.
And this is the episode. And this is it just for now, because Morris, I believe this is the episode number 3. The number 3, because this Sunday will be the number 4.
Awesome. That is so fun. I love the lighting, and I love the environment that you've been able to build out of it. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yes, I have a huge diorama, so huge, big like a room. This diorama was made by my father many years ago, and
Wow.
he gave me this diorama. The only one problem is, for example, that this episode was not tricky to do, but the previous one, an episode with a stone troll, I use another part which is so huge of the diorama, and I do shooting everything. I need to go inside the diorama, and during that moment I stay like that with the back like that, and after that I start to have some lower back pain for that, and I still have some problem for that, because after that I did all the other stop motion. So with a huge, because I have different dioramas. Some diorama are composable, but this huge diorama for the outside scene is big, but it's not easy to shooting, because you go to do inside that.
That would be crazy. Don't hurt yourself. But so I've had back problems in the past. Don't ever bend, twist, and lift anything at once. You will break your back.
So, I know, because also maybe it's a problem also if you stay too much sit down to working, because I sit down many times, because I do live stream for the other channel. I working on the desk to my novel. My review, when I do review also still, so maybe I need to more gym and more.
Yeah. Or just get out on a nice walk for about a half an hour to an hour a day. Just one walk a day. That would help.
Yes, I know, also because I live in it's a small town with a castle in front, a church, a forest, so nature. But I have also yes, but the problem is I have allergy problem. So on June I can walk outside. Now it's finished. Finally, it's finished that problem. But every year, June and May, it looks like maybe with the mask is not a problem. But I don't use the mask, because where I live, we are maybe 100 people, just like that.
Wow.
It's not difficult to make a social distance with the other people of the.
Yeah.
But I like that, because as a writer, sometimes I travel to the meeting with the fans, some stuff like that, and I like live near the quiet of the nature. The nature is give you a perfect balance, mind balance. Is cool.
Yes, absolutely.
How many time do you have again now? If you need to go.
How much time do I have? I've got a little more time left. Yeah.
Okay, maybe other 10 minutes is okay.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. And back to the Mythic Legions.
Yes.
How many Mythic Legions do you have now?
I do not know. I have many. I have most. I don't have all of them. I've been able to. I've given some away. But I would say that I have most of them.
Okay.
I definitely have all the trolls. I definitely have all of the ogre size. I've got all the goblins. I've got all of Noble Bear, for sure. And yeah, I have many, and then some. I have all of the Masters of the Universe homage figures, what we like to call them. So yeah, I've got all those. I've got a handful of customs. One custom that I love, I got from Nikki Nicole's Customs.
Yes.
Of So
Nikki Nicole will be in my show in the second half of July.
awesome. I look forward to that. She's amazing. So yeah, I have one of her green elves, female elves, that I've kind of turned into kind of a green goddess for my Masters Origins figures. But yeah.
And speaking of
Origins, sorry, Masters homage figures.
yes, I understand what do you mean. Like Edamon was one of them. Edamon I like. It is another figure is difficult to find now.
Yeah.
I like it because yes, it's homage to Master of the Universe, but it's different. Because if you don't know that, looks like original character Edamon. Yes, if you watch the straps, the gray straps, remember him, but it's different. It's with his long beard, the long hair, the ponytail, some stuff like that. So it's different. But speaking of Master of the Universe, I have a consideration I want to share with you. I'm a big fan also of the line called Club Grayskull and the William Stout. I did also an interview with William Stout on this channel.
Awesome.
Also awesome guy, William Stout, by the way.
Yeah.
We made a 2 hour and a half interview. He told me many interesting stories because he worked also. He told me some story about David Lynch. So cool story. Awesome guy. Also, he will write in the future, by the way. But I like also this type of figure. That Super 7 did. Club Grayskull, William Stout. Now today we have this Master Revelation, this stuff, good figures, but I still maybe an old school guy. I'm missing to the Club Grayskull because we know because of license Mattel stop everything from Super 7, so stop also the work, the project with for Awesome and Super 7.
Right.
With William Stout, with Club Grayskull, and they give to us 3 different way of Masters origin, the Masters verse stuff, and other stuff. To me, yes, these figures are cool, but if I watch these Master Revelation figures, cool figure. But remember me, looks like if you don't know what is Master of the Universe, maybe you can confuse this guy with some new Marvel Legends character. No, if you remember this God skeleton that comes out a few weeks ago, it's not the same golden God skeleton of the movie, for example.
No, not even.
I have more a fascination for the character portrayed by Frank Langella, and then this guy looks like a Marvel legend mixed with Master of the Universe. What do you think about this changing situation for Master of the Universe?
I'm happy about it. I would say overall, I'm very happy about it. I may not like everything that comes out necessarily. For examples, with Masters of the Universe Origins, I love the line. I'm thankful it's out there. I'm very grateful that it has opened up Masters of the Universe collecting to so many more people now. I'm happy to see it in the stores. I love seeing it in the stores. But I have the classics. I have the Mythic Legion homage figures. I'm good. I don't know that I only have so much collection space as well. So, but having said that, I'm looking at Fisto on top of my shelf over here. So I've got Masters of the Universe Origins figures, but I'm definitely just cherry picking some of my favorite characters, kind of a thing. For the Masters, the multiverse or the Masterverse, I got to get that right. The Masterverse line is really hopeful to me. I'm very excited about the different directions that they could take that line. Because right now what we've seen is stuff for the Masters of the Universe Revelation cartoon that'll be coming out next month. Another thing that I'm super excited for, and excited to see why God Skeletor is the way he is. But I think that this may come and go, but Masterverse can be a line that can just kind of continue through the ages and continue to offer unique artistic looks at the Masters of the Universe, which, could it be a place where the Club Grayskull could come back, or could it be a place where maybe even classics could kind of come back a little bit? I'm like a bunch of the other fans out there that I'm kind of hopeful. So I'm excited and I'm hopeful because it feels like a door that could be opening in that direction. And it could. I don't have inside information to know if that's what's going to happen for sure, but I just like that Mattel as a company is setting up a line that could possibly grow into something like that. So
Yes, I saw also the trailer of the Revelation cartoon. Obviously, it's different. I still a Filmation guy, but I watched that. I saw it's cool, good style. It's a refresh, like a refresh. For the origin, is a different way. It's like an updated version of the vintage one.
yeah,
And for example, it's a good way if you never had some character of the vintage that now are easy to not easy to find with a difficult price. For example, I got for origin Scareglow because I never had this figure, and find a vintage original is a big price.
Yep.
And the articulation is perfect, worked very well. And as an influencer, I did a review and unboxing last Thursday of the Flocked Panther because they sent me this guy a shop called Space Figurine, and they promoting some of my videos and send me free these figures. And I saw this. Obviously, if you compare the vintage one with the new Flocked Panther, is totally different. The new one is awesome. It's awesome because the technology to create toys is better. Yeah. So I like this way for the origins to create a perfect version for the vintage one, because you find in the vintage are old figures, so with many issues because they are old. And so it's good that. And for the other masters, because there is also another line, I saw something, I don't remember the name, the Revelation and other stuff in the Masterverse. And there is another line for kids, just for kids. I don't like it. It's just maybe because the target is another one. The Revelation, I can't understand. I can accept that. It's not my masters, but I think there's something cool, however, for that.
Yeah. Yep. I think it's an exciting time, and yeah, to that point, I'm floored and happy and just excited that Masters of the Universe is back in the limelight a little bit. So I think it's going to be a good thing. There are good people behind both of those shows, the Revelations and the He-Man and Masters of the Universe, for the one that's for the kids that you mentioned. It's going to be. I hope it does well. I hope it is able to connect with the next generation. Because like you, that's probably not my show. I may or may not be interested in the kid show. We'll see. I'll give it a shot. I'm definitely going to watch it. How much will I like it? I don't know. I have a lot more stock, we'll say, in Masters of the Universe Revelation because of the premise that it is supposed to kind of pick up where Filmation left off. And so I'm excited to see where that goes.
Okay, other two questions. The last two questions. The first one, speaking of Filmation, what do you think about other two shows of Filmation, Brave Star and the Filmation Ghostbusters? Do you remember this show, and what do you think?
I remember watching Brave Star a little bit as a kid. I enjoyed it. It was interesting because that was hitting at a time, I want to say, when I was starting to go into junior high and probably not watching as many cartoons as I used to. But regardless, I still watched, and I still actually really liked the horse character quite a bit. I remember liking him a lot. The real Ghostbusters, that's what you're talking about?
No, real Ghostbusters, Filmation Ghostbusters.
Filmation, right, with the big monkey guy.
See, yes, with the Primeval was the evil.
Yes.
With the Tracy the gorilla, this stuff. Do you remember?
I remember it being on, and I remember watching it a time or two, but it wasn't something I followed regularly. Now, however, before Masters of the Universe, I did watch Black Star. I loved Black Star.
Okay.
I really, really enjoyed Black Star a lot, and it was honestly, there's a little part of me that wishes that somehow Black Star figures could work into Masters of the Universe Classics somehow. I know that they're totally different properties. That there would be a licensing dance there that would have to happen, but I always thought that would be a cool fit.
Yeah, maybe Super 7 could be the perfect company to do some stuff like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't throw it past. I wouldn't ignore that. That would be. I think that'd be awesome. I think if they think that they could do well with it, they'd probably go after it. So time will tell. Who knows?
Yes. There is also, I read one of the comments, Damien Ristori says, I hope in a year from now, Shira from the 80s will also be revived or done similar to Revelations, Ordak and his odd rule. Yes.
I would love to see that also. Yes. I think that would be awesome.
Also, the last question now. My last question is, you told me before that you had many dreams come true.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me another dream come true that never happened until now, and you hope they could be in the future?
Like a dream, a dream that hasn't happened yet that
Exactly.
I would like to see
Exactly.
happen. Oh man, what is the next dream? Because once a dream comes true, all you have left to do is dream up the next dream, right? I think for me, it's hard to say. If we're talking Masters of the Universe, I would love a crack at a new slime pit and Bright Zone. I feel like we have Grayskull, we have Snake Mountain. Thank you, Super 7, for those. I think I would. I
have the big Snake Mountain because this is the poster inside.
Yep.
Huge play set, awesome.
Yep. That was another dream job for sure, without a doubt. So yeah, for Masters of the Universe, I would love to see some kind of Fright Zone and Slime Pit combo. I think that could make a fun playset. Another dream.
Maybe this one, Damien says, Mythic Legions TV series could be another dream.
That would be awesome. A Mythic Legions TV show would be awesome. Actually, to be 100% honest, we're still at the beginnings of figuring out the packaging artwork for Cosmic Legions. I am actually really, really excited to see where Cosmic Legions goes.
Yeah,
I've seen probably a little bit more than the general public has seen about Cosmic Legions, and from what I've seen, I'm hoping it. I have every reason to believe it will be as successful as Mythic Legions, if not more. And
I didn't see nothing, but I trust that because we knows the quality of Mythic Legions. I believe that Cosmic Legions will be another big line, awesome line, like the Mythic Legions, in my opinion, because we know the style and because we told before that they growing up wave by wave. Imagine what is possible with Cosmic Legions.
Yes. I will say this. The other dream that I do have for Mythic Legions would be to help design environmental pieces, possibly even castles for Mythic Legions.
Awesome.
I think that would be amazing to do. I don't know if castles will happen. I know that the guys have talked back and forth about the possibility of like little pieces or pieces of environments that could maybe connect and become something bigger, or if they just someday are able to bite the bullet and just do something huge like Snake Mountain or Castle Grayskull. Yeah. I would love to get to play with that a little bit. Not just play with it.
I talked about that with CB about the possible play set. He told me that something that you told right now, and also maybe they need a partnership to get some stuff like that, because the money to do that is not like to create action figures. It's big situation.
Yep.
Okay. And now I go to the piano, my friends, and when I go to the piano, it's time to say goodbye. Thanks for watching, my friends, and don't forget to subscribe, Mr. Alan in the World of Toys. And thank you, Nate Baertsch, to be my show. And guys, don't cry, because Nate will return coming soon, maybe when the Cosmic Legion comes out, or maybe to talks about a future wave that will come out of Mythic Legions. Thank you so much, Nate. Thank you guys to watching the show. So long, everybody, and have